Oh, you didn't know what happened on Raw this past Monday? Well, then you better tune in to somebody. That somebody is the greatest group of guys in wrestling today. No, not 3MB, not Aces and Eights, and it pains me to say it, but not the Shield either. It's the Royal Roundtable panel, and tonight we have a stacked panel and a stacked show. As always, we have our Raw preview, yes-no segment, voice of the voices, and ending it with 2 pipe bomb debates in episode 2 of the Royal Roundtable. But first, let's say hello to returning panelists Luke and Anthony Santinello and introduce some new people on the show. But first, Luke, Anthony, how does it feel to be back on episode 2 of the Royal Roundtable?
I'm stoked. Even after a subpar Raw, I'm pretty stoked to be back on the show.
I get really excited. I'm excited. I'm giddy. I got butterflies in my stomach. I'm feeling good.
I legitimately just popped a vein in my neck from doing that intro. I'm Anthony Nortorelli. I was a panelist last week, moved up to host this week. Pretty excited, but before we get into any wrestling talk, let's hear some wrestling fans talk. First, to my left, next to Santinello, a new guy on this panel, Damian Fiorello. Damian, 3 questions, pretty easy. How long have you been a fan? Who's your favorite wrestler? And what's your favorite match?
What's up, everyone? I'm Damian Fiorello. So I've been a fan probably since I was at least 5 years old. That's when I can remember. That's when my memory set in, probably. But longer than that, my favorite wrestler, Shawn Michaels. My favorite match, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, WrestleMania 25.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I think I give it a 9.8. The only thing I thought that was missing. Yeah.
Technical Damian.
9.8 because of the finish. I didn't think it was a great finish with the backflip over the top. If it had the WrestleMania 26 ending, 10 out of 10. But so those are my choices. I'm pumped. This is my first panel here at the Royal Roundtable. And you hear that, guys? Bigger pop than Jericho's WWE debut.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I just botched that. So
like I mentioned, we
Off to a good start.
got a lot of people in studio today. Man who just joined me to my left, Julian Coltre. Julian, how long have you been a fan? What's your favorite wrestler? Who's your favorite wrestler? And what's your favorite match?
Well, I think first off, I got to say you guys are pretty lucky I'm here because I was throwing my brains up this morning when I got up. But answer your question, Anthony. One, I'm absolutely stoked to be on the show. I wanted to be on it last week, but I was a little bit too caught up in watching the NHL playoffs in the next room. So
too shady.
I was being a little bit too shady. But I've been watching wrestling since I was probably about 15 years old. I stopped a little, then you guys got me back into it. Now I'm back into the wrestling ring, I guess you can say, here on the Royal Roundtable. But my favorite wrestler, Undertaker, he was the one of the guys who I first saw when I watched my first episode of SmackDown. Favorite match, Undertaker versus Batista, WrestleMania 23. First WrestleMania match I ever saw, and it was because of that I was doing stupid, or really just messing around and throwing and beating up my best friend's little brother back at home and doing like tombstone pile drivers on him.
And later in life, pedigreeing me and busting my face.
Yeah, in case you're not aware of that story, you'll definitely hear it. I destroyed Luke Halpert's face, and since then, our relationship has not been the same.
Undertaker, Batista, some would say, I would say, and I'm sure we all would say, Batista's best match, hands down.
One of his best matches, absolutely.
And now, finally, ending it off, the non-Hofstra student in studio today.
Ryder. Brought him back from home. Went to WrestleMania 29 with him. Here he is today, the youngest in studio, Jesse Levy. How long have you been a fan? Who's your favorite wrestler? And instead of favorite match, what's your favorite wrestling moment?
What's going on, guys? I'm Jesse. I've been a fan since about I was 98. Obviously, growing up and I'm watching in the late 90s, how can your favorite wrestler not be the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin? Favorite wrestling moment?
Give us your match also.
My match?
Give us your match also, fine.
One of the personal...
Damien implementing some rules.
My personal favorites is definitely WrestleMania 20, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and... Can I say his name?
Who are you talking about?
Who am I?
Whose name?
All right, Chris Benoit. Definitely one of my personal favorite matches. Obviously, at the end when Eddie came out and those two guys had such a great moment together, and obviously, you know what happened 2 years later is unfortunate of what happened. But I actually stopped watching wrestling about a year after that, after 21, and I just got back into it. Not just, but I started watching at 27 again. And I said to myself when I started watching, I'm like, why do they ever stop watching this? This is honestly my childhood, and I love this so much. And favorite wrestling moment, definitely when Hardy, one of my favorite, when Hardy did the Swanton Bomb off the huge 20-foot ladder onto Bubba Ray.
WrestleMania 16. You know, I just watched WrestleMania 16 and 15. I watched 15 with Jesse 2 nights ago. I watched 16 while he was doing work today, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. But honestly, in my truest opinion, I do think, watching back, that the Attitude Era is a tad bit overrated.
Wow.
Well, I think it's overrated in the sense that everyone thinks every single aspect of it was incredible.
Yeah, it's just weird to see, like, Godfather saying to the crowd, like, if you got weed, let's roll up a blunt at WrestleMania, saying that, and, like, Viscera is giving the finger, like, Road Dogg's calling people jackass. I guess it's just different watching it now, how PG it is, that could ever happen, I guess.
That's really what it is.
But me and Jesse were watching WrestleMania 15, and we were just amazed that, like, every match was ending in, like, a disqualification or run-in, and it's just, I think that's what I don't like about the Attitude Era. It's just run-in after run-in after run-in. I think the hardcore matches are a little, like, I don't know. I'm not
a little too many.
I'm not a big fan of, you know, a guy getting hit with a broomstick and then a pan and then like a fan and then I don't know. It's just it's just tough to watch sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you have hardcore matches like that and you did them at the frequent rate that they were happening, I think it kind of cheapens them.
Yeah, and everyone's bleeding in every match, so I think that's where it's. I do think though. I know we're big on tag teams here. I think that the Attitude Era had amazing tag teams. They had about 25 tag teams in that division. Titles might have changed a little too much, but nonetheless, great tag teams. But before we get to anything else, let's learn a little history. I like to call myself the wrestling historian, but today it's another Anthony as the wrestling historian, Anthony Santinello, giving you what happened on this day in wrestling history.
Okay. Like it's hot.
On this day in wrestling history, May 7th, 2001, at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, right across the street in Long Island, New York, Bradshaw defeats Kurt Angle by countout to start off the Raw event. Then Christian Edge and Rhino defeat Eddie Guerrero, Jeff Hardy, and Matt Hardy in a 6-person tag match. Jerry Lynn defeats Crash Holly, Grandmaster Sexay, and Taka Michinoku in a fatal 4-way of the Cruiserweights. Chris Jericho defeats William Regal in a steel cage match. Lita defeats Molly Holly by pin. And Bubba Ray, Devon, and Spike Dudley defeat Albert, Justin Credible, and X-Pac in a 3-on-3 tables match. And the main event, Steve Austin pins Rikishi.
Steve Austin versus Rikishi in the main event.
And we're talking about the Attitude Era. We're going to bring back on all of our panelists, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in studio today.
Big roundtable.
We got a squad tonight. Exactly.
Big roundtable.
Yeah, but nonetheless, Rikishi, Santinello mentioned it. That was when he was getting his push after he ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I did it for the Rock.
It was a tough angle. It didn't work out like we thought, but it's cool to hear what wrestling was like back then, and we're about to talk about Raw and what it's like now. It seems like things were a little bit more interesting back then. You had a tables match. You had Austin in the main event wrestling. You had a lot of cool matches, a lot of different stuff going on. I'm sure the promos are great in that Raw. So what do you guys think? I mean, what do you think the biggest difference, I guess, to start it off is between Raw back then and Raw now?
I just think, like, look at it. You get a steel cage match and a tables match in the same Raw. It's like you see one of those once every 3 to 4 weeks, maybe, on Raw. So it's just amazing how it's changed.
Yeah, I'd say maybe once a year. I mean, the last one I can even think of on Raw was, Santino versus Jack Swagger on SmackDown, like a year ago. And also, they didn't just have a steel cage match on Raw. They had a steel cage match on the mid-card of a Monday Night Raw. So
and the tables match wasn't even the main event.
Exactly. They were just kind of throwing away these big pay-per-view type stipulations on free television.
I think you guys kind of got to think about it a little bit. Back in the day, a lot of people weren't as accustomed to all this violence and stuff like that. Now we got the internet. We talk about it all the time, but you can go and look up this sort of shit all the time and just kind of go out there and see what happens. A lot of people have just become a little bit, I guess, censored or a little bit too used to seeing all those violence, and maybe that's why more people want the characters nowadays, and they want the Fandangos or whatever they want. They want out there. My personal favorite wrestler nowadays.
I was gonna say, big fan of Fandango, Julian Culture.
Julian is the world's biggest Fandango fan.
Yeah, but that's my personal thought on the whole situation. A little bit more, I guess, used to it nowadays. It's
or like immune to the
immune.
To the
that was the word I was looking for.
Obviously, how you bring up how even the mid card was steel cage. Definitely the depth of the roster. There was you look at WWE today, and there's so many superstars. You're like, what the hell are they doing out there? What's their gimmick? And it's so boring.
And yeah, not only that, there's so many misguided superstars and misused superstars. We talked about it last week. Antonio Cesaro, he could be a great asset.
I
but
think you saw a little bit of that tonight.
I might be the only one that thinks Mason Ryan is misused. Luke yells at me every time I bring it up.
Okay, Santana, you get muted for about a minute. Jesse, keep going though. I know you're an attitude era guy.
Even back then, it's like. Even like you had guys like Val Venus and The Godfather who would get such huge freaking pops, and they were so entertaining. And the IC division was so strong back then too. It wasn't only Austin and Rock and Triple H and Mick Foley who were running the show. It was a group effort, and that's what made them so good back then.
All right, well. Guys, before we get to the Raw preview, any last thoughts on the Attitude Era? It seems to be our discussion tonight leading us up to the Raw. Any last words, any last thoughts? I know some of us are bigger on the Attitude Era than others, but what some final thoughts on the Attitude Era?
I don't think Damien spoke yet. So Damien,
I didn't say anything.
Yeah. Damien, the shy one of the group, we call him this John Cena of our friends because he is definitely the nicest guy in this group.
Yeah, I was going to let that one
slide,
but
sometimes he's too much of a face. We're kind of sick of the same old Damien. We're waiting on a heel turn. Maybe he'll sidekick me in the middle of hosting today.
Oh, man.
It's going to happen eventually, but think about this. Back in the day, these gimmick matches were on television because they weren't necessarily just used for pay-per-views. How long until we get the Steel Cage pay-per-view in, like, May? You know what I mean? Like, these matches are available to put on live television, but now they save these special gimmick matches because they make pay-per-views out of them, so they can't really do it on TV and also use them on the pay-per-view. And also with the PG era, these extreme matches, if you can call them that, the chances of bleeding also go up. So I think they're trying to stay away from that. The thing that made it Attitude Era better too is that they had so many gimmicks, except these gimmicks worked and people liked them. Now they just half-ass these characters just to put them on TV. So as you said, you can make. I feel like everyone. There wasn't a wrestler in the Attitude Era where you're like. Well, there definitely were, but there's so many memorable ones. Meanwhile, now you're like, oh, great, this guy's this mid-carder's wrestling.
Yeah, there's just about like 10 guys you want to see, 3 of them being the Shields in today's wrestling. Right. Whereas, in Raw, in the Attitude Era, you see whether it's a pimp or a porn star in Val Venus, no matter what, you're excited to see these guys.
And they don't only come out, they get huge pops.
Exactly. It's not just, the thing is, they took that gimmick and made a character from it. Now I feel it's just, all right, if it was today, it's you're a pimp, and then that's it. Like
Brodus Clay likes to dance.
You're gonna dance. That's all you're gonna do. You're not gonna make a character. It's just your gimmick. You're not gonna have a character.
Like Damien said,
you're half-assing it.
Exactly. Exactly.
It like people get bored of it so easily. Meanwhile, we watch Val Venus and Godfather do the same shit every week, and we never got bored of it. Now Brodus Clay does that for 4 weeks, and we're like, all right, change this guy's gimmick.
I think it all just comes down to the writers. I think if you have a gimmick that, pretty much a lot of gimmicks that have failed, I think could work. But what happens is the writing is just, I just think it's not there. And I think that a lot of people like to hide behind, it's PG. But
it's
not. It
the
all
80s
comes
and
down
early 90s was PG too, but the writing was fine then.
Exactly.
That's my argument. And maybe it's tough to go from the Attitude Era back to PG, but nonetheless, we're talking about stale, we're talking about boring. Well, that's going to be none of that here on the Royal Roundtable as we head into our meat and potatoes of the Roundtable itself. Monday Night Raw. I just completely blanked. I just looked at you, did not know what I was going to say.
What am I supposed to say?
Nobody at home listening would hear this, but I just completely blanked, and I'm getting made fun of for it. So this is an unscripted show.
Unscripted.
Fuck-ups will happen, just like they did now, so get used to them.
And we don't edit it out.
And speaking of fuck-ups, I'm going to be honest. I am reading right now that Raw is in Canada was in Canada on Monday. You're telling me it's in Virginia.
I'm pretty sure it was in Virginia. I thought
they were in Canada.
All right, Jesse Levy, rookie sensation.
Who comes out to Raw from Roanoke, Virginia.
Dude, they're in Canada. I'm reading right now. All right.
I'm looking at Roanoke, Virginia.
All right,
we got 2v1 right now.
Let's just get
Virginia City.
Let's just get to the Raw. Let's just get to the Raw.
Jericho made a surprise return too.
Exactly. Let's just get to this Raw before we get into too much of a debate. Started off a little bit different than last week. Last week we saw the 3 managers in kind of a stipulation match. This week it was a little more basic. We saw John Cena come out. Damien, you came out on Raw. Had a very mixed reaction, obviously, as usual. The boos from the real wrestling fans, as we like to call them, the cheers from the little kids. But then things got a little different. Obviously, he was talking about his foot. If it's, we like to talk about if it's a work or not. This is where it kind of got interesting. Vicky Guerrero comes out, and we were having a discussion, me and you, Luke, about if she's the GM, if she's not the GM. Guess we'll call her the GM.
She does what a GM would do, but she doesn't have the official title of the GM.
All right, fair enough. But nonetheless, she's doing a good job as GM. I mean, we know it's scripted, but she has kind of set some big stipulation matches. Brock Lesnar and Triple H in the cage. You got the triple threat ladder match. Extreme Rules is shaping up to be good. Now we were waiting for Cena Ryback stipulation. Some of us thought it was going to be a tables match. Some of us thought it was going to be a hardcore match. Santinello called that it would be a last man standing match, which in doing so, it was. Vicky Guerrero said that. So what do you guys think about last man standing? I mean, some of us had different ideas on where this could go, but I think the last man standing match is great. I think it's really good for Ryback because he's not necessarily a good technician. This is the kind of match where he can excel.
I think it's a good match. The only one I think could have been better would be an Iron Man match, which is what I was calling for the whole time, but I don't think Ryback, that's kind of Ryback's match. I think a last man standing, like you said, would be a good match for him because no disqualifications, anything goes, and I think this is going to be definitely what's shaping up to be the best match of the pay-per-view.
Coming from somebody who is horrible as the technician in the room right now based on what I did to Luke's face when I tried to catch him, I got to agree because basically not only do I think that this, like you said, and gives him a chance that he can go out there and do what he does, which is not being a good technician, but I also think it can, weigh a little bit in his favor. He's a bigger guy, obviously a little bit more power to him than Cena on first glance. I think that's something you can look at. Maybe that gives him a little bit of an edge mentally going into the match, and you could say, I don't know, maybe they will give it a Ryback. Me and Damian are going to get into that a little bit later on, but something that's what I think is, gives it doesn't automatically make you think, all right, they're going to give it to Cena because he just won the title at WrestleMania. So it makes you think a little bit.
I'm not 100% on Cena retaining. I think he will, in the sense that he's Super Cena, and Ryback has basically been building this entire matchup calling him Super Cena. So I feel like he'll overcome his injury and take the title. But I feel like Ryback has lost every single pay-per-view match since October.
Exactly. You can't have a top guy and have that.
I don't think he'll win now, though.
That's what I said about Punk and Undertaker, though.
I think the ultimate rehab would be to beat Cena.
Yeah, and then maybe if Cena actually is injured, maybe it gives him some time to rest. I mean, that's another debate. We'll get to that a little later. But nonetheless, excuse me before I said Vicky Guerrero made that match, but actually she said Ryback can make the stipulation. He said last man standing, and then he said something that shows how awful Ryback is and why he should read on cue cards, because he said something to John Cena. He said, not only is your pride your Achilles heel, but your Achilles heel is your Achilles heel. Now,
I get what he was saying.
I get what he was saying too, but it just sounds weird.
Ryback can say by memory is Ryback rules.
Exactly, which is my least favorite saying.
The funniest thing in the world for such a tough guy.
Feed Me More is kind of cool. Ryback rules is awful, in my opinion. Me and Jesse got to hear a very inspirational Ryback at WWE Access.
Seminar.
Jesse likes to call it a seminar because it was completely out of character, just talking about.
What was he talking about?
Follow your dreams, never give up.
It was a Make-A-Wish, be a star kind of thing.
It's like, come on.
It's weird. It's weird to hear Ryback out of character.
Well, the dude kind of sounds like he smokes like 20 packs of cigarettes a day based on his voice.
He says favorite food is pizza, not steak, because he doesn't eat meat he used to eat steak 8 times a day. But where are we going right now?
He does. He is road partners with Daniel Bryan, who is a vegan.
Fair enough.
So
yeah,
that could explain that.
Fun fact, Ryback said that Daniel Bryan makes fun of Ryback because Ryback dresses like a biker but has never or does not own a motorcycle. Or never rode one. So there you go, a little fun backstage story. But moving forward, because we just got completely off topic talking about steaks.
I like getting off topic. I like this.
Second time in a row.
Yeah, when's Damien? Damien, what are your thoughts?
You step in.
You can't turn here.
Oh, it doesn't. We don't have to all talk.
I want to know what
I agree.
Damien thinks.
Damien's a little shy. You gotta get him accustomed. Right now, he's like,
if you're Cena, Damien, you got to be afraid. You can't be afraid to go on the mic.
Cena just jumps. Remember the whole build?
Hustle, loyalty, respect, man.
That's true.
All right, I'm just gonna say this. The question at first was how we felt about the last man standing match.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
I think it's a good match. I feel like it's been a while, though, since we've seen a 3 Stages of Hell. I don't remember the last time I've seen one of those matches.
All right, moving on. Randy Orton versus Damien Sandow, in which we got
this was great.
Very big pop from all of us. I'm sure somebody's going to pick it.
Pull it up? I can pull up the audio of it. Talk. I'll pull up the audio.
All right, I'm going to be talking. You're going to be a great engineer behind the boards and do that. Randy Orton versus Damien Sandow. I'm sure it's going to come up in our yes no segment from one of us. Sandow sang a song mocking Randy Orton on the way down to the ring. Very funny. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Hopefully Luke gets it up. Nonetheless, though, I mean, Randy Orton's versing Cody Rhodes. He's versing Damien Sandow. Now, I don't think the writers are building any sort of feud, but is this a lack of direction with Randy Orton, or is this Damien Sandow and Cody Rhodes possibly finally getting something good? Because personally, we talk about Cesaro, we talk about a lot of misused guys. Damien Sandow's at the top of the list as far as misused guys go.
He's definitely misused, and a thing that impressed me about the way he rapped to Randy Orton, it was in the key of his entrance song.
Yeah.
Impressed me that he could keep on key like that. But yeah, him, Cody Rhodes, I think are both being misused by WWE. They need to get a huge push sooner or later. And by them fighting a big guy like Orton, I think that this is a push they need to get over the top.
All right, hold on. I'm getting word from my fake monitor in my ear that we have the Damien Sandow rap.
Incredible.
From our amazing engineer who will impress you all night with his sound bites. Luke Halpert, take it away.
Randy has voices inside his head. Just watching him puts me to bed. It puts me to sleep. Down here on this ramp, his expression stays the same. Does his pose up in the corner, can't think of anything more lame. All his tattoos are disgusting, all that oil on him is heinous. I guess you get to sit back and watch me beat this ignoramus. I hear voices. Silence!
Wow.
Impressive.
We thought John Cena could rap. But wow, that was not only was that amazing from Damien Sandow, he really spoke as to what I think about Randy Orton. Boring, awful, just absolutely bland.
Yeah, that's what everyone says about Randy Orton. But I think this Sandow stuff, this is not the first time he's done this on the YouTube stuff. The JBL and Cole show, he seems to do one pretty much every week.
He might be an undercover rapper. We don't know. We don't know what he does in those off time.
I think Sandow has a lot of potential. We forget, as good as he is, that he only came up a year ago. So I think you're going to see him pay his dues for a couple of years. But I think he, in ring, on the mic, is really good. And I see a lot of potential in him.
Me? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Damien is
so
his
shy
about
right
not getting the mic, and then you...
Look at my boots right now.
such a face.
Damien Sandow, I think they need to end Team Rhodes Scholars as soon as possible because, again, both of them should be going after singles titles right now. Sandow should be right now going after the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think so in 2014. I think it's too early, but 2015, I can see him winning the Royal Rumble.
Wow,
that's a
bold prediction.
I'm gonna cut this down. I'm gonna cut that soundbite up, and in a couple of years I'm gonna play that back.
Yeah, let's see it. I feel that he is a great in-ring wrestler. He's one of the best at promos,
and he's a funny promo too.
Yeah, and I think he has what it takes right now to be one of the top guys in the company. Except they're wasting his time,
which is common in the WWE.
That's the biggest problem, obviously.
Yeah, obviously the misuse of talents like Sandow and Rhodes. But as far as the match, started out Orton right as soon as Sandow got in the ring after rapping. Orton attacked him. The Viper attacked him. The Apex Predator attacked him. Whatever you want to call Randy Orton, he attacked him.
Not the Legend Killer.
Not the Legend Killer anymore, which is heartbreaking. They roll outside. Orton throws Sandow into the announce table, into the apron, off to the barricade, all over the place. Goes inside the ring. So they have a little bit of a match. Not what I would like to see. Certainly not what Rhodes and Orton had last week, and what we all agreed unanimously was the match of the night. But it was still, it was not a good match, but it was cool to see Sandow getting some time. Obviously, Randy Orton won RKO, which is still a great finisher. That's the only thing that Randy Orton has left, in my opinion, is the great finisher in the RKO.
Number 2, the Diamond Cutter still.
Fair enough. Maybe a little cheating, ripping off the Diamond Cutter, but Sandow, I'm pretty sure we all knew was going to lose. Randy Orton with the clean victory on Sandow, but I'm just happy to see Sandow getting some time. Hopefully they continue this. Moving forward, Michael Cole, in what Luke says to be an awful attacking job. Acting job, not attack. Well, and a bad attacking job, too, by Big Show. But we'll get to the acting first. Points out like he found America, like probably Columbus did. Michael Cole screams, "The Big Show!" The Big Show, and we see Big Show attack Randy Orton as he's going up, and this is a match I personally do not care about.
Tell you what, good thing Luke has DVR on his TV because we were able to rewind that and just watch how poor acting that was on the part of
Rewinding
Michael
was something Luke did a lot during that Raw
Yeah,
today.
he rewinded during the Divas match a few times, which I questioned. A lot of reasons, yes.
There was a lot of cringe-worthy material on the show. Here's
Julian
just moving my mic
Luke's
around.
mic up.
Oh my god. Okay, but yeah, there's just a lot of cringe-worthy material on the show. I'm not saying the whole show was
It wasn't as bad
but
as
the
last
stuff
week.
that was like really weird and stupid was really stupid.
So are you guys excited at all? I mean, there's no stipulation for this show Orton match yet? No matter, let's say it's a cool stipulation, is that going to make you more excited for the match? Or at this point, you have a ladder match, you have a cage match, you have a last man standing. What stipulation can make this cool? Maybe like a chairs match or something?
I remember last year they just kind of threw Cody Rhodes and Big Show into a table match. Like they did a little the Raw Roulette. They did the wheel on the pre-show, and they got a tables match. And I feel you might see something like that happen, but also they have not had a regular singles match. And if they're trying to maybe go with this feud for a while, you might see them start off that way.
Okay, fair.
I just think it's Extreme Rules. I think you have to attract the viewers by giving them something like huge that they aren't expecting. So I don't know. There's nothing really. Like you said, there's a steel cage match, a last man standing match, a ladder match. There's not really much that they could go with, but they got to go with something.
I'm not expecting that much going in, but obviously look at last week and like you were saying, and the Cody Rhodes Randy Orton match. We weren't expecting that to be the match as good as it was, but it was the match of the night. Now, obviously, there's so many big matches coming up in Extreme Rules that's not going to be number one, but you might be pleasantly surprised. You never know what might happen, and that's something obviously you can look at.
That's fair, Luke. You're mentioning that this pay-per-view, if the stipulation gets put on this match, there might not be one singles one-on-one match, and being the wrestling historian that I like to call myself. Stop it. The last time, Damien getting me back for cutting him off. The last time in my memory, and I think the only time that there hasn't been at least one singles one-on-one match, WrestleMania 2000. I don't know if you guys know that there was not one.
That's true. Wow.
Not one. You look at the card. There's either I think the only time is that there's a Divas match when they have people in the corners, but no singles one-on-one match in that. That's a fun fact about a pretty bad WrestleMania.
You are the historian. You really are.
I know. I like to. Damien's calling me out. Not according to Damien, but I live up to it.
I
live up to it.
Our own personal Dave Meltzer.
All right, so we're going to move forward, and Rick Rosetto's not here, but he likes to pride himself on being Chris Jericho, who made a surprise appearance on Raw today, made his way down to the ring, did the Raw as Jericho, and he did the whole Fandango names, Fandango, whatever you want to call it. And Luke, being the great engineer, cue it. All right, Julian's favorite, Fandango. Didn't like what they did with them, but we'll get to that in just a moment. First off, Jericho brought out Brodus Clay and Tensai and had a little bit of a panel in what would be Fandango versus R-Truth's match. When Fandango was coming out, Julian just fell. Julian just fell in his first Royal Roundtable. Some people can't handle the pressure of Royal Roundtable.
Oh my God!
So trying to correct Luke's mistakes
How
on
does
the
that
board.
even happen?
All right. So anyway,
you have to describe this to people listening because that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Tripped over a chair.
I was helping Luke out behind the board. I took a wrong step, walked into a chair, and then flipped over the chair.
You literally flipped and fell. Oh my goodness.
And speaking of mistakes, I think bringing Brodus Clay and Tensai was a pretty bad mistake. Having them as almost a panel, holding up numbers for Fandango. Fandango's entrance, some of us were bumped to Nazi Summer Rae, who is an absolute... There you go, Jesse. Very pretty. I like her much better than the brunette that she had today.
I still want to know who's there at WrestleMania dancing for him.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that.
That's my favorite one so far.
You told me that.
Was that a different one than normal?
I don't know. The one who's in the very front at WrestleMania 29, dancing, like the cameras were on her the whole time. Someone knows who that is.
She's like that.
She's
like that girl outside McKeeb's in the white shorts, right, Damien?
Intern again, someone like that?
Yeah. We're still looking for an intern at the Royal Roundtable, Mark Silverman, who we might get on the show later. We'll see. But as for the match itself, nothing. Chris Jericho put up a 0, and I agree with what Chris Jericho said. R-Truth came in the ring, planted a Fandango with the facebuster, scissors kick. Fandango rolls out of the ring to avoid a pin. Truth starts dancing. Judges give him a 10. Brodus gives him a 42, which, Santinelli, you have your own thoughts on the 42.
I thought that was hilarious because, okay, we obviously know our truth is black. Jackie
Oh.
I'm not bringing race into it, but I just thought it was hilarious. The Jackie Robinson reference. I was the only one that actually bust out laughing out of all of us that saw it.
Yeah, I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was hilarious. That's my honorable mention for yes of the night.
Our truth is a guy who just, as much as he's getting kind of buried in whatever, he keeps winning. He beat Ray Barrett.
Journeyman.
He won today, but
He's winning a lot of matches lately.
big question I have for some of the Fandango lovers. Is this, walking and getting counted out, is Fandango still undefeated? Because let's say this happened to Undertaker WrestleMania. We wouldn't consider him undefeated anymore. So is Fandango technically undefeated, or is this going to be classic WWE where they don't really acknowledge a screw up in the story?
He's technically he technically lost.
Yeah.
But he's never been pinned.
tainted.
Or he's never
Use that.
he's never pinned.
tainted.
He's never tapped.
As the certified Fandango expert in this room, I'm saying that it's tainted and that he's not undefeated anymore, and it just bums me out, man.
And so is that all that Fandango has, is undefeated streak? Because, I mean, we're all kind of getting sick of the Fandangoing. Luke, his video is viral on Fandangoing.
I blame Luke for starting the whole Fandango theme.
What's not to love about
No,
Fandango?
I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying you catapulted the guy's
He's
career. You should
Julian's
take some
favorite-
pride in that.
Current guy. I mean,
Yeah.
because obviously Undertaker's not around that much.
Loving the Undertaker. Loving him. Hey, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be Extreme Rules.
Even though I am happy that they used him after Mania a little bit.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. It was definitely cool.
Build the Shield.
So R-Truth won. Chris Jericho maybe hyping up a feud between himself and Fandango for Extreme Rules. I was just about to say Backlash. Wow.
Wait.
For Extreme Rules. I mean, I'm pretty excited about the card. I think once they make the Shield, hell no, whatever it's going to be, whoever's going to verse in that, they're obviously hyping that to be, in my opinion, what will be the best match of the night on Extreme Rules card. But if it's Jericho and Fandango, I would not mind that at all.
I thought their match at Mania was a little bit underrated, so I'd like to see it again, especially at Extreme Rules, because I think you'll get a good match out of them.
All right.
I am happy that Jericho Fandango wasn't just Mania. I'm happy that they're continuing it for another pay-per-view because that definitely has potential they can have another better performance, pun intended, with the judging.
Haha. Look at that.
That guy. He's got jokes.
I am
Jericho's
looking
always there
forward-
to
who
put
knows,
over a
maybe
guy.
Jericho will legitimately end Fandango's
We'll
streak.
see. Yeah, we'll see. Moving forward after that, Daniel Bryan was backstage talking about getting attacked by the Shield, and what was an awesome camera angle. I love the whole, when they show somebody getting attacked, they just show the feet. I know a couple weeks ago we thought that might be a fourth member of the Shield, but it's just the Shield. It's just the Shield doing what they do with cool, different angles, cool, different kind of stories, and I like that. So Daniel Bryan was talking. Ryback comes, so it's a Daniel Bryan Ryback face-off. We were talking about them being friends off camera. Well, on camera, it looked like they might have had a match tonight, but Daniel Bryan says he's in no shape to compete. Ryback says Bryan's half the man that Daniel Bryan is. And then Kane comes in. Kane Ryback was set up for the main event in the night, and that's not a bad main event for a Raw by any means. No comments? Nobody?
I thought we were talking about that later, but
No, that was set up for the main
I
event.
know. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the match that much because obviously we'll cover that later. But definitely, Ryback, Kane, that's definitely a main event that's different. I was looking forward to it, especially of what the main events usually are with the Shield involving or a six-man tag match. It's good to see Ryback have a singles.
All right, now speaking of matches, in my opinion, match of the night, Del Rio versus Dolph Ziggler. Ricardo Rodriguez comes out to a big pop as usual. In my opinion, the best part of that duo between him and Del Rio.
Yeah.
Agreed.
AJ Lee, you have Zeb Kotler. I love this whole intertwining of managers, and I really love how they're building this triple threat. So before we get to the match, do you think that this is maybe a case of how managers can help so much with the feud? Because in the golden era where it was Hogan and in the 80s, the managers really made characters. Miss Elizabeth helped make Macho Man the man that he was and the superstar he was. So is this going to maybe set an example of how managers can impact wrestlers?
I really do hope they bring them back because, like you said in the '80s with like Jimmy Hart, Miss Elizabeth, it really did build the character. It made them more entertaining and got a bigger pop out of the crowd, which I think WWE really needs right now. So I think the managers could definitely help build the superstars now because they definitely need it.
Managers thing is great. Especially with last week's Raw of how they had the managers themselves have a match to determine the stipulation for the actual people they're managing. And definitely it brings a whole new perspective, because you would think that after Mania, what would they do with all these guys? Because all three of these guys, I'm glad to see that even though Swagger lost and Ziggler is an absolute stud as world champion, I'm happy that they're giving Del Rio another shot again, and Swagger, who them three have just been so good this past month, and I'm happy that they're putting them in the triple threat, and the managers just make it even double more entertaining, because not only you have other perspectives and all the managers, and Zeb Coulter's great, and Biggie Langston, he's not really a manager, but obviously you're seeing how he can develop, and he's an absolute powerhouse, and he has a big future.
And as far as the match goes, I mean, we saw Ziggler take his classic Ziggler falls, Ziggler bumps.
Some unbelievable bumps.
We saw maybe a botch. It was when Ziggler was it was early on in the match when Del Rio got Ziggler in the corner. Del Rio then tried doing that running kick. He missed Insiguri. Yeah. Ziggler then ducked it and fell down, and then it looked like...
As Del Rio was coming down, it looked like not the back. It looked like one of Del Rio's knees hit Ziggler in the back of the head really hard. That looked...
Ziggler never botches.
Yeah, no, it might have been a Del Rio botch on Ziggler, and it looked like it was a knee right to the back of the head.
I don't know as much as if it was a botch. It's just the way Del
landing
Rio just came down. And
that's fair. But nonetheless,
that looked really painful.
And in what was a tough Raw to kind of watch, this was a great match, and I really added to the feud. Obviously, then Swagger came down with Zeb Coulter, was on ringside for a bit. We know Zeb Coulter, being a former wrestler, he can talk a little bit.
Oh, he's one of the best.
He's entertaining. He's entertaining to watch. Made a very funny joke about Del Rio and a ladder, so clearly making a Mexican jab. I forget what the exact joke was.
He celebrated Cinco de Mayo when they were doing the commentary.
Yeah, it's Zeb Coulter is great because he's not afraid to push the limit, and I think that's what WWE is missing, that really edge pushing, especially with Punk gone. But the cross arm breaker, we're gonna fast forward a little bit in this match. Del Rio, in my opinion, is one of the greatest finishes. A cross arm breaker. How he sets that up is just a beautiful thing to watch.
It's awesome.
It's amazing, and
one of the few non-boring things about Alberto Del Rio, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely agree.
His new theme music definitely spices him up. I love his new
Ricardo
theme
Rodriguez
even
too.
though it's
a
the
lot.
same thing, just it gives a whole new jolt and upbeat.
Exactly, and so the match, back and forth all the time, and very upbeat kind of match. A lot of big bumps that Ziggler took. Loved the match. Cross armbreaker locked in. AJ, and so this is toward the end of the match. Cross armbreaker's locked in. AJ Lee gets up on the apron. Beautiful AJ Lee.
Gorgeous.
Not as beautiful in person.
Not as beautiful as Damien.
Not as beautiful as Damien.
It's like girls on Facebook and in real life.
Exactly. Damien, I thought you were going to say something. You looked like you were going to say something.
She's gorgeous.
All right. Man, a few but strong words here on the Royal Roundtable episode 2. So AJ Lee gets on the apron, distracts the referee. Big E Langston pulls Del Rio out of the ring, throws him into the announce table, and the refs call for the bell. So in what was a great match, I guess the only bad part was that it didn't really end in a pinfall, but I don't think you can really have it end in a pinfall trying to hype up the match. It would look too bad.
Absolutely. And I think what happened is you had Ziggler and Del Rio looked really strong, putting on a great display in this match. And then you had Swagger at the end just destroy everybody. He destroyed Del Rio, he destroyed Ziggler, he destroyed Ricardo Rodriguez, and he destroyed Biggie Langston.
Got the ladder
and
out.
He didn't just beat them, he hit them with ladders, and this was no just ticky-tack ladder. He was going full out and using a baseball bat, this
throwing them in the faces. Yeah.
I thought this made Swagger look like an absolute boss, and he's one of my nominees for the S of the Night.
Okay, fair enough. A little preview of that segment. Swagger standing tall at the end of the match with Zeb Coulter on the entrance ramp to end the segment. But before we move on, I just want one straight answer, no explanations. We don't need one. Who do you think is going to win that triple threat? Ziggler, Del Rio, or Jack Swagger? We're just going to go clockwise. I'll just start it. Ziggler. I don't think he can lose. I don't think it's logical to lose.
I really want Swagger to win, but I, in all honesty, think Ziggler can't lose either because he just got the title. So
You got 3, Ziggler.
Ziggler thanks to Big D Wangston.
I've been dying to say that all night.
Ziggler, the guy's an absolute stud.
Change it up. Change it up.
I can't change it up.
Asshole.
You can't change it up because then we'll make fun of him that he's the only one wrong.
But I think because it seems maybe a little predictable, they might throw us a curveball. I think nobody would see Swagger winning.
I mean,
Yeah.
I want.
No, you people might want him
Ziggler
to, but
can't lose.
especially coming off of the arrest when he has the court date coming, I think that I doubt he would win it. I really don't think so.
Exactly.
If Del Rio wins,
I think it'd be terrible.
I think
At least booking
everyone
wise.
should
That could be the
stop
worst
watching.
thing.
It's pointless.
It would never happen, but
It's possible.
That literally would be the worst thing for WWE right
possible.
now.
But if they win, I think every single wrestling fan should stop watching wrestling. And yeah, I
As
just
much
think
as a lot of people have done already. Stop.
Yeah.
I think that
They
would be-
dropped a lot this week. I was
That
looking
was-
at the ratings. They lost 80,000 viewers.
Well,
this
The
week.
Rock's gone.
Side note, though, Damien shaved his beard. He's looking good.
No, but I think if you have Del Rio or honestly even Swagger go over in this match, I feel that would really kind of just not destroy, but that would really dampen Ziggler because
Yeah.
I mean I was at that post-Mania Raw and I think everyone else watching
Yeah.
saw that was not just a normal cash in. That was just not a guy winning a championship. That was so much more than just a normal championship, and I think that to really cheapen that whole Money in the Bank cash in to just give him a 7-week title reign.
Stupid.
Yeah, I think that's really poor booking.
Plus,
Agree.
the Money in the Bank cash-ins are
Yeah.
just so great when they do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the
It's
whole,
awesome.
The
Got
Izod
pops
Center
and
roof
everything.
almost blew off.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when Edge cashed his
My
in
boy.
after Mark Henry destroyed Undertaker. That
was great.
The place popped.
At that post-Mania Raw, I thought my entire life that for baseball fans, I was at Game 4 of the 2001 World Series, and Tino Martinez, the Yankees were playing the Diamondbacks, and Tino Martinez hit a 2-run home run in the 9th inning of that game to tie it up, where it looked like the Yankees were going to be down 3-1 in that series. And that stadium was the loudest I've ever felt anything. It was shaking. That was one of the most amazing atmospheres I've ever been in. But when Ziggler cashed in, when his theme hit, I thought that was probably the biggest pop I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, that's big.
Like it
Bold
was
statement.
The
a
wait was
really
finally over for
Yeah,
this
the
guy
wait
to
was
really
sign.
big pop.
All right, moving on to something that might not get as big of a pop as Santinello wraps us.
I'm trying.
Kaylin backstage, the Funkadelics backstage yawn. The only thing that I'm trying to take, we heard, Kaylin got him.
Call them the Funkadelics.
Yeah.
That's a cooler name.
Just call him everything.
Yeah,
like
whatever,
everything.
boring, whatever.
Roof's just like it, Steven.
So yeah, I don't care about these.
Dactyls.
So Kaylin gets
Telling how it is.
Kaylin gets a text message. She tells Kali to go undercover backstage in the locker room. Yeah. It's a text message, secret admirer stuff. I just want to know. The only thing that I'm interested in is who is it? I think you said it's Cody Rhodes, Luke. So you still stick by that?
I think who did I say it was last week? I
Cody
think
Rhodes.
last week I said it was Big E.
Yeah,
No, you said. Somebody said Cody
But
Rhodes.
I want to change
I
my
said it was
thing.
Big E. He said it was Cody Rhodes.
I'm going to change my mind on this. I thought a little bit about it, and they make a lot of hints like, oh, this person
Yeah.
really knows AJ. Who's the only person that's been established to actually really know AJ? I mean, I'm an idiot. The only person who really know Caitlyn is AJ.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
was
feel
don't know
like
where you're
this
going
is
with this.
I'm not kind of an idiot. I feel like this is just AJ being crazy
Baiting her,
AJ and
like
just
baiting her.
fucking around with
All right,
Caitlyn.
fair enough.
I think that'll make for a cool build.
That's
for a
as
feud.
much as we need to talk about the divas. Moving forward.
Yeah, but don't.
Who could be a
leave
guy
it up
though?
to
It could be a guy.
WWE. Leave it up to WWE to make this a Hornswoggle angle.
Yeah,
I
so I was
couldn't-
just
I
thinking
couldn't-
that.
I couldn't give less of a fuck about this.
All right, fair enough, Santinello. So before Santinello wraps us, let's just move on
Wrapping this
to the Usos and Kofi Kingston verse.
Before we do anything,
Cue
I
the
really
music.
want to say.
Why are you interrupting me? I was about to-
No,
All right,
I'm just
go
saying
on.
Quick. I love Damien's gimmick where he just chimes in with like two.
I love it.
two
He's
wor-
got a gimmick.
two
Look at him. His first
quick
show. I didn't
words.
have a
Like,
gimmick
I
yet.
like this a
I'm
lot.
a jobber still in this business and of podcasting. You're a freaking gimmick man. All right. Anyway,
He's
the
got
Us-
the golden one line.
wait, could me, Luke, and Julian just hold up our shield fist? The Usos and Kofi Kingston in a 6-man tag against. Let's cue the music.
Cue it.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
The Shield, 6-man tag against the Usos and Kofi Kingston.
My
Now,
boys.
I was not a
Job
fan of this.
Squad 2013.
You said Job Squad of 2013. Not a fan of the Usos. Not that big of a fan of Kofi Kingston. What I do respect his athleticism, but the Shield, I was expecting a little more from this segment. I didn't think they would just come out and do a 6-man tag promo, but nonetheless, Shield wins. That's all I care about.
I like this match. I thought, the Usos really didn't do much, but I thought the Kofi versus Dean Ambrose stuff, Dude, Kofi looked really good in this match, and I liked
Kofi
it.
looks
I
good.
really liked it. And you saw at the end of the match, you saw as Kofi was on the ground and the ref was giving him his trophy, you saw Ambrose kind of really
That's
staring
what I
down
wanted to take
that
away
U.S.
from
title.
this. You mentioned it. You called out Ambrose at the end of the match. I mean, I'm not going to take away from the match. I think I might have rushed through it a little bit. It was a damn good match. A lot of athletes in that match. Ended with Ambrose, a front face headlock driver, I want to call it, to win. Finally shows his, I guess, finisher, and it was a damn cool
My
one.
exact words as I'm in my kitchen getting a snack, and my brother's in the den watching, and I see it happen, and my exact words, I'm like, to my brother, I'm like, holy shit.
It was a great move.
It looked.
That
It
was
actually
fantastic.
looked
That was
painful.
awesome.
Yeah.
Respect.
That
It was
I thought this
great.
was probably the best match of the night. And
All right, fair. Yeah,
Very
yeah.
I
That's
really,
fair.
I really liked this match.
It was
And it was weird because they're the Usos, who I don't really hate, but I've never really seen them put on a great
a glorified
match.
job squad.
That was a really
Can
good match.
is it fair to say that Kofi gives the match more flavor
Yeah,
than any other superstar?
It was just the Usos versus the Shield. And I also like to break.
Right.
It's not 3MB anymore. It's different teams of
Mix
three.
it up, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I would like to start seeing them break away from the whole teams of three thing. But nonetheless, great match. Shield is over. They leave. They come back later on in the night, but we'll get to that in a second. First, another guy that we all love here on the Royal Roundtable, Antonio Cesaro versus Zack Ryder. Now, Cesaro seems like he's gotten squashed in the past, but they showed his dominance over Kofi. They were showing a couple video packages of Cesaro. They gave him an entrance, not a jobber entrance this time. No yodeling. Awesome jumpsuit. Is Cesaro finally getting the possible push he needs?
I hope so. I mean, he's probably should be a world heavyweight title contender, but for some reason he's fighting middle of the card against a jobber, Zack Ryder. So I don't really know what WWE's got going for him. I hope it's big things, but we'll have to see in the coming weeks.
So in the match itself, Ryder got dominated early. Cesaro took him down, stomped on him with both feet. A couple minutes later, rights and lefts, as we see Cesaro do the punches. He likes using those punches. And we're going to get to the biggest punch tonight because Cesaro hit a move that made Santinello almost jump out of his seat.
I think
Actually, I think he did
I
jump
did.
out of his seat.
Is it the uppercut, what is it, the European uppercut, the something European uppercut?
It was ridiculous. The guy, freaking Ryder, was flying through the air, just got punched out of his mind. And that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
So, because as you mentioned, Jesse, Cesaro connected with the neutralizer after the uppercut, won. Zack Ryder continued to get squashed. I mean,
bad for that guy.
it's tough, but at the same time, I'd rather Cesaro win in that situation.
It's like whenever he gets whenever he actually gets TV time, it's like you say to yourself, it's like he's gonna lose this match.
And this
Yeah.
was a total squash. I mean, I
I-
can't even recall him getting in any
And I just
offense.
really hope that he has some sort of a gimmick change in,
I got a
the,
lot more.
in the future.
I got a
think-
lot more
I-
to talk about in this match.
I think
later on.
one's coming up.
Yeah, all right.
I really
I
hope
definitely
so.
think because we talked about it a bit last week. The Z True Long Island story. The
I would like
the
a heel turn.
quote unquote return where
He
he kind of
Instagrammed
threw
that
everything
picture
away.
of everything,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean his hair isn't spiked anymore. I
So-
think you're
Kinda
gonna
miss
see
it.
something.
Going back to Cesaro, after the match is when we all looked at each other and said, wait, this guy might be getting pushed because he cut a promo, obviously a great one because he's great on the mic. He said that if that's the WWE, that's what the WWE has to offer, and looking at Zack Ryder, then it's an absolute disgrace. He said that there's nobody in NXT, Superstars, Saturday Morning Slam, SmackDown Main Event, Monday Night Raw that can hold a quote-unquote candle to him. Cesaro is great, and this was a damn good promo, and maybe we're talking about foreshadowing with Dean Ambrose in the U.S. title. Maybe that this is a little foreshadowing of Cesaro getting something.
Well, I was pumped because me and Luke both thought Batista was going to come back because
I was waiting for
No,
someone
I didn't
else to
say
hit.
you thought
I
Batista
was
was
waiting
coming.
for
would have
someone
gone
to
nuts
drop.
if Batista came back.
I really
thought
thought
you-
I
I
didn't
thought-
think anyone was coming.
I thought you
that
were-
was,
It would have been
No,
cool. Maybe
I
it's
thought-
Christian. That's a good opportunity for Christian to come back.
That is
'cause-
a good
We spoke to
opportunity.
him and he
Yeah,
said,
we met him, and he said he's got to get cleared first. But that would be a cool situation because then it gives Cesaro maybe a bigger match, and it gives Christian a cool way to return.
Yeah, but then think about it. Does Christian beat Cesaro, and then Cesaro is back to losing again? You know what I mean? He needs to keep pushing.
All right, moving on to Paul Heyman.
one
I'm just
before-
kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, but I think
Damien.
the Cesaro promo, I think that definitely shows that the people who matter in that company, they saw the backlash of pretty much anybody who just pretty much even just watches the show, sees how good of an in-ring performer this guy is. Like, I mean, again, I talked about it last week. The main event match with Kofi Kingston.
That was great. You said an
was
early match. Yeah.
was incredible, and you really, and you saw. Plus, they each week WWE puts out a preview of stuff to look forward to for Raw, and I believe the second item on the list was something to the effect of how will Antonio Cesaro try reclaim his
Cesaro
United States
Kofi's
title?
a great U.S.
So
title
I
feud.
feel like they might be implying that he's going to get a push again, and I like that a lot because and I think something that all of us know is that he's as talented as any wrestler in the world.
All right, moving forward, trying to kind of maybe get things going a little quicker. A segment that I thought was really cool. I didn't think I'd be so excited about it, but I ended up loving it. Paul Heyman joined the crowd via satellite, talking about Brock Lesnar. Flashed to a pretty much homemade video on a flip phone, I'd say, of Heyman recording an iPhone of Heyman recording him and Lesnar going into WWE headquarters, pretty much walking up to Triple H's office. Now, if it was a stage office, we don't know what it was, but it was a very cool segment. I'd rather have you guys break this down as opposed to me just telling you what happened. So, Jesse, I know you loved this segment. What did you love so much about it?
Well, this is the only reason why I watched Raw. I waited 2 hours just to see.
They were hyping it up all the day.
See this freaking clip because Paul Heyman tweeted a picture of the missing of the WWE sign just fucked up to the max, and I'm like, what the hell would have caused that? And I think another thing that is awesome is so they go into headquarters and Paul Heyman sees them outside of the building. And another reason why it's also cool because we passed by the headquarters building, so it's like I recognize that. So they walk in. The secretary's like, "You have an appointment," and Heyman's just like, "Yeah, we have an appointment at 4th floor, Triple H's corporate offices." So he tells the guy in the elevator. They go in the elevator, and this guy is just scared to death, just standing there. Which, by the way, this is awesome because imagine you're working for WWE, right? And that's cool enough to begin with. But imagine if someone tells you now, they're like, "Yeah, we actually want you to be on TV." In this storyline.
And the employees were tweeting also.
Yeah, that was also awesome. How they got a picture Triple H, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman in the building, try to stay away as much as possible, which is to picture them in the lobby. So they basically go up and they're walking around the offices like, "Oh, what a nice place." And they're just walking around and Heyman's saying how there's no Lesnar pictures anywhere. Just judging all the wrongs of WWE, just jabbing at the McMahons.
Maybe foreshadow a little bit with Rock. He said, "Look at this guy," and we know that there's a little rumor of Brock Rock. Yeah, I mean, you never know. A lot of foreshadowing in this Monday Night Raw. Dean Ambrose, Cesaro, and now maybe the Brock Rock segment.
So they finally get to the last corner. It says Paul Levesque's offices,
which I liked. I liked how it actually said his name.
Real name. And I'll let one of you guys take from here if you want.
I mean, I just thought it was very beastly that he shattered a keyboard in half, and I don't think it was like a fake keyboard. I think it was a real keyboard. I mean, he shattered pretty much everything. And
the laptop,
Luke was amazed at this part.
Yeah, it was amazing.
He just destroyed a laptop.
It was amazing.
With his bare hands.
It was great.
It was awesome. It was an awesome segment.
A broken computer from the offices they had.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, I don't think that was actually.
It was still badass.
I think Triple H's office has got to be much bigger than that little closet that they were.
It really shows, Brock Lesnar is an.
Yeah, it made me excited for a feud that I watched the match live at Mania 29. I hated the match. I wasn't interested in the feud at all. I don't like Triple H that much or Lesnar. This was the first thing that made me think, okay, I'm kind of pumped. And then obviously the camera cut back to Paul Heyman after it was all done, who was holding up the broken world title from Triple H's office that got smashed, saying he won't be holding Lesnar back from doing anything anymore. Triple H's music cut. It was kind of the same old song and dance. He's saying that he's the founding father of D-Generation X, the guy who knocked Brock Lesnar out of Mania. He tells Lesnar to be a man, say it to his face, not go to his office when they know Triple H is going to be there, scare a bunch of innocent workers in Stamford. But the Triple H promo maybe kind of dried it out a little bit, but nonetheless a great segment for now what seems to be a cool feud for Extreme Rules.
You know what I'm thinking? I've always been a big fan of Brock Lesnar back when he was in WWE, when he was in MMA, when he came back to WWE. And I think that even though they can only utilize him on select occasions, I think when they've utilized him for those select occasions, they've done a good job with it. A couple of weeks ago when he came out and just mutilated 3MB and did a great job just destroying them. That was a great kind of promo from him and Paul Heyman. This was a great promo from him and Paul Heyman. So even though they can only utilize him for select times, I think what the WWE writers is, for the first time, I guess, in most of the segments we can say, is they're writing great pieces for him to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
All right, so moving on, Bella Twins and AJ Lee versus Kaylin and the Funkadelics. Kaylin and the Funkadelics won.
Funkadelic.
So, Funkadactyls. Kaylin and the Funkadactyls. Can we just call them Funkadelics from now on? So I don't get confused.
Damien has a point.
No, I'm good.
So, Mark Henry made his way out to the ring. we're going to fast forward that to Divas match. Kaylin and the
Yeah, I
Funkadactyls
fell
won.
asleep for a minute, sorry.
So Mark Henry made his way out to the ring. Talking about Sheamus impressed me. I liked what Mark Henry had to say. He's starting to grow on me.
Oh, please.
Starting.
Come on.
I love starting.
I was probably the only
he's-
one in my section at WrestleMania that's cheering for Mark Henry against Ryback.
I was rooting for
Wow.
Mark Henry.
That's fair.
You weren't in my section.
That's true.
That's fair.
Mark
gotta
Henry's a
respect the
waste.
guy.
He
And
Literally a waste.
claims he's the world's strongest man. He literally
Henry-
hasn't competed in the
Yeah, in the
competition in like
90s.
50 years.
Henry
He won it though.
Henry
Yeah,
called
shit.
out.
Really
like
won it.
1993.
Just like how Angle still
you
sticks
win it,
to
you
his
win it.
gold medalist.
yeah, but come on, is Derek Jeter not a World Series?
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh wow.
So anyway, moving on.
Won one in 2009. Mark
Is
Henry
John
hasn't won
Tavares
since 2009.
is John Tavares not amazing? And
All right,
Can we
let's go
get
back.
a counter going for
Comments.
Damien sentences
Let's go
under
back
10
to
words?
wrestling. Let's go back to wrestling. The crowd started to what chant to Mark Henry. Mark Henry called him out for it, and I really love when they do that. And then he kind of called them puppets to get them to say what to him. And I really like that, Mark Henry, showing he can be kind of a fun heel. And I thought it was awesome of Mark Henry to acknowledge their what chants. He showed footage of the beatdown he gave Sheamus over the last month. I'm more excited for this feud, I'd say, than Big Show Randy Orton, because I think Mark Henry, he beat Ryback. You never know what maybe they want to give him one last run. Sheamus made his way down to the ring. He kind of, I don't know, you guys think he's a little bit stale. I don't mind Sheamus. I think he's a good in-ring storyteller. He's facing Wade Barrett today. He faced Wade Barrett in that match on Raw, and that match was kind of just what we expected. Sheamus won it, but then afterward, Mark Henry beat down Sheamus, and it's kind of hyping up a feud that I don't necessarily know if Sheamus is going to come out the victor of that, because I thought the same with Ryback, and Ryback didn't come out the victor. So, are you guys? I mean, I definitely am more excited for this and Sheamus and Mark Henry as opposed to Orton and Big Show.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think Mark Henry will win this match if it does happen because they made him lose. They made him lose to Ryback, and I just think that they want Henry to win another match, and they gave Sheamus the title shot. He was a champion for a long time, world champ, and I think they just want to put Henry back on the boards a little bit with a win here because he definitely, when he whipped him with the belt and everything, they definitely made him look dominant. And Sheamus tweeted, WWE tweeted all the. They
Talking to your mic.
Damien.
They,
Falling asleep a little.
Did Damien just fall asleep?
they tweeted,
It
especially.
is late. It is almost 1 a.m.
They tweeted all the belt marks on Sheamus' back, and obviously, as freaking pale as he is, you can really see it.
Yeah, and that's what made me maybe lead to believe that this match might be a strap match.
We talked
We
about
talked about
last
that,
week,
and he
yeah,
started
that's-
whipping Sheamus, and I was like, this actually might be a strap match. So now leading you up, not to the main event, to the dance-off between Chris Jericho and Fandango that's announced for next week's episode of Monday Night Raw,
Are you
which we'll
kidding
talk
me?
about
I
on
didn't
next
even
week's
see
episode.
this.
News fest.
Oh,
No,
this is when I went to the bathroom.
yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? This is
Yeah.
actually happening.
So I think that's where they'll
Oh,
announce a
no.
match for Extreme Rules. Now looking at the main event, Ryback versus Kane. Pretty big main event.
I want to say that's the
Great on paper.
second dance-off in 3 weeks.
It's sad. It's
Are
I
you-
really hate
what they're
this.
doing at
What are
Fandango
you
is kind of
doing?
getting old now.
Like, I don't care if you push the guy, but push him as a wrestler, not a dancer.
All right, so Ryback.
Well, he is just character as a dancer.
I get that, but
No,
And
I
Jericho
know.
was on Dancing with the Stars, so I think that's natural.
like, do you see Mark Henry
Oh,
doing?
that's true.
But just,
Jericho.
just the
That's
fact
why
that
it works out because they mentioned it. So.
But do they see like Mark Henry doing bench press competitions in
Yeah,
WWE? In
he did.
WWE,
Well,
when
Mark
has he
Henry
done one?
probably
He did
like
Ryback.
with Ryback right before
yeah,
WrestleMania.
they had a weightlifting competition.
That's why you watch SmackDown.
Oh, okay,
Am I the only one here who watches SmackDown?
probably.
Well, that's
I
another
watch
thing.
SmackDown. I don't watch it live when it's on, but I watch
Fair
it.
enough. All right, so Ryback Kane, big main event, hyping up a lot of stuff, intertwining the main event scene almost. As I said, I think it's cool how you see Ryback, John Cena, The Shield, Kane, and Daniel Bryan all involved in the WWE title picture in a way.
Intertwining feuds.
Yeah, it's
love
cool. You don't see it much, and I think it's cool. It's kind of like a cross
Very
universe
throwback.
almost type thing. It's very throwback.
Very attitudinal.
Talking about throwback to the start of
I
the
think you
show
just
when we
made that
talked
word
about
up.
that. But anyway, it was a match you expected. It wasn't nothing too technical, but Kane, went for a choke slam, got countered, got hit with a few clotheslines, kind of just powerhouse moves from powerhouse guys. Ryback tries the shell shock on Kane toward the end. Kane counters him, hits him with the suplex for a close 2 count at the end. Heads up to the top turnbuckle, which we see Kane do a lot. That's his kind of signature, heading up to the top turnbuckle. Ryback hits the ropes. Kane falls on his crotch. Then Ryback gets him into the shell shock. And Ryback always impresses me with how much he holds these bigger guys in the shell shock. And hits the shell shock. 1, 2, 3. Ryback got a big win over Kane. A clean win over Kane, more importantly. And then everybody's favorite time, the end of the show, where you know who comes out, The Shield. And their music went off. And Ryback bailed from the ring, leaving Kane alone. Let's hear that music.
Sierra Hotel, India. Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
In what has become almost a tradition for this show, anytime the Shield is mentioned, got to take a moment of silence for the Shield, play their music, raise those fists, as we like to do, their unofficial taunt that we think they should have.
They actually put them together.
They put them together. I love it.
Together like they were in the Captain Planet with
They
rings.
knew we did that.
So let me explain this situation at the end. The Shield went off. We didn't think we'd see them all night after that Usos Kofi match. Shield's music went off. We kind of seen the same thing going on, so maybe something different we thought might happen. Daniel Bryan made the save after Ryback left the ring with Kane in the ring alone. So he made the save on his partner Kane, stands over Kane. Ryback looks on. John Cena's music comes out. You know the champ, the good guy's going to come out and save the day.
Damien's coming out.
Damien's coming out.
Nah, he's asleep right now.
So now the Shield circles the ring. Ryback makes the save with a steel chair. Daniel Bryan suicide dives onto Seth Rollins outside of the ring. So now it's just, I believe, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and now Ryback in the ring with Ryback holding a steel chair. Cena's about to FU Roman Reigns, I think it was, and then all of a sudden, Ryback doesn't hit Roman Reigns with the Shield like he hit the other two in the Shield with the steel chair. He hit Cena instead. Shield left the ring. Ryback stands tall over Cena to end the night with the chair. Obviously, you didn't see a headshot. You saw a body shot on Cena. But nonetheless, it's kind of the same ending that we've been seeing. Like
the same one that kind of happened after Mark Henry demolished.
I'm just kind of getting sick of this. Like
stuff.
Shield comes out and we expect something huge, and it's always just Ryback. Is he going to leave Cena this time? Is he going to not leave Cena? I'm kind of just getting.
Just like
as much as I love the Shield, I don't think it's the Shield's fault in this instance. I just think it's Ryback and Cena. Like I don't know. I don't think if it weren't for the Shield, they would have a real feud to build off of.
I agree because I think the Shield has room to grow, like you're saying, because they have such a vast storyline where you can put them in. But whereas Cena and Ryback, I think just. It's not much more than, all right, this one gets into conflict with the Shield, this one gets into conflict with the Shield, this one body shots this one body shots somebody else. It's boring.
Ryback's a douche. Go Cena.
Damien, what are your thoughts on that?
What's the question?
Good morning. Good morning, Damien.
No, I think.
Give me the question.
He's too busy texting that girl from
No,
the Keys.
yours a response.
Who do you want?
I want Ryback to win, but I don't see it
Putting
happen.
yourself down, dude.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm
cut him
coming
off,
back
cut him
in.
off, cut him off.
Unplug his mic. Get him out of
I
here.
gotta say that I think because you kept on hearing that this Ryback Cena feud was put in place for a long time, and they've been planting the seeds pretty much since Cena got hurt back at Hell in a Cell. So I think what happens is when you have a 7-week build for a pay-per-view, when you normally have 4, I think you should have different endings to these shows. I think the writing just seems lazy for. I mean, you have a 7-week build, and you've had the same ending how many times?
Like trying to judge what we think they should do, but
I don't think it's judging what they think we should do.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is like we've discussed what we think that we should do, but I think we give the WWE writers too much credit in thinking that they should do this, but in reality they're just going to do what we expect them to do, which is the same old ending.
So overall, I think it was a much better show than it was last week with the tug of war and the Domino's Pizza plug. I'd say maybe
What about
a B. Let's just give a quick grade so we can move on to the yes/no segment. Overall, I'm going to say it's a B- show.
I give it like a B to B plus.
I only read it on WWE.com. I didn't get to see it, but I did.
He's throwing up all over the place.
I was throwing up in bed.
Are you feeling better now?
Devoted fan though.
Like you seem very healthy.
I think I'm good. I mean, I'm not falling asleep like Damien, so there's that. But I would say B-.
Go, Damien. You're up.
Speak. He's gotta go.
I would give this show a C plus. C plus. Still tons of fillers. I don't think any storyline besides the Triple H Brock Lesnar match finally having some fire behind it, and they're actually hyping it up, or getting someone hyped for it. Don't cut my mic.
It's more than 10 words. We don't know what to do.
I would give it a C plus, B minus.
B minus. The saving grace from the difference between a B minus and a C was the Lesnar Triple H destruction.
Fair enough. Now let's get to everybody's favorite segment of the show.
What, you know what happened to my
Luke Halpert talking. Luke Halpert talking is what I was going to say next. Everyone's favorite segment, Luke Halpert speaking. So Luke,
I would say when I watched the show, I didn't really love it. When I went back, I'm looking at the notes that I wrote for myself. I wrote a lot more things that I liked than I disliked. Like, I really liked Sandow. I really liked Cesaro. I loved the Brock Lesnar stuff. The Kofi versus the Shield match, that really surprised me. So I honestly have to say that, I probably give it, like a B+. Like, there was a lot of stuff that I liked.
All right, now everybody's second favorite segment of the show, the yes/no segment. So, cue the stuff that we got, the special stuff that we got for today's
You got
segment.
nice little sound effects now.
First, we're going to start positive. You got to start positive first. So,
That's helpful.
Yes.
let's start with the yeses.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Santinello, you want to start this baby off, and we'll go clockwise from there?
Okay, my yes of the show got to be Antonio Cesaro finally looking like he's going to get a push. We all talk about him at how good of a competitor he really is in ring and on the mic. So I think it's good for him to finally get some sort of push, even though it was just defeating Zack Ryder.
For me, it had to be the match between Del Rio and Ziggler, mainly because it was a good 20-minute match or so. But I think that there's so much deeper that, yeah, we're looking at that Cena Ryback match. Yeah, we're looking at Lesnar, Triple H. But I think that triple threat match with the tables between Swagger, between Ziggler, and between Del Rio is going to be really maybe the underrated match of that one, the one that a lot of people are counting out. But it's going to be a good heavyweight championship match. My
yes is definitely the Triple H Brock Lesnar destruction scene, because after WrestleMania, when they said there was going to be Triple H Lesnar again, I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But definitely this thing spiced it up and made me really pumped up for the rematch.
My yes of the night, we talked about it before, the Dean Ambrose headlock driver. I think that really, just to see that move, I thought Kofi Kingston neck snapped. Also, the way he foreshadowed going after the U.S. title, I think that's awesome. If you could, as quick as you can, get the U.S. title off of Kofi Kingston. I don't like him. I think he's really boring.
Wow.
So if Dean Ambrose has a U.S. title and you could maybe get Seth Rollins to go after the IC title, and then just Roman Reigns just be that big guy enforcer until he steps up and challenges for the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't see them losing the belts. I think it would be cool if all three members of the Shield have a title. So I'm going to say Dean Ambrose, my yes of the night, headlock driver, awesome finisher. It looks like it really does some damage, and him going after the U.S. title would be great for the company.
I was going to say Cesaro, and I really...
Haha.
I was going to agree with you, Stan. I think that's just rewarding this guy for being so good. I was really happy to see that, but I have to say, I don't think I've laughed at Monday Night Raw as much as I did during that Damian Sandow song. His rendition of Randy Orton's
Great.
theme. So I would say Damian Sandow, my yes of the week.
My yes is got to be Mark Henry proving on the mic, and maybe even in adding to the story, maybe he's proving still he's got something left in the tank, proving that maybe he's not this boring guy that just talks about his muscles and just does power moves all day. Maybe he does have a little bit of entertainment left in him. And now for the negatives, which is Monday Night Raw in 2013. There are a lot of these. Give us some no's.
No! No! No!
We're going to go counterclockwise this time. Send it back to Luke, starting out the no's.
My no, I would gotta say, I thought the first hour outside of the Sandow stuff was really bad, but the worst of it, I would have to say, was probably John Cena's opening promo. I thought that I don't even know what age group his type of comedy appeals to. Like, I feel maybe it feels like maybe a 5-year-old might find it funny, but I just can't imagine anyone watching that and being like, wow, this guy is so cool and so funny.
He's the man.
Little kid.
All right, so there's...
I caught his wristband, all right, man.
Look at Damien. We think he's cool.
Yeah.
But,
That's awesome.
Threw me his wristband.
All right, well, there's Luke's no. Damien, what's your no of the week?
My no of the week is the dance-off that was announced. Like you said, Luke, before. Second one in 3 weeks. And it's really... These fillers are getting really annoying, whether it's tug-of-war, dance-off. Actually,
Dominoes.
HLA back in the day wasn't too bad. But I would rather see, seriously, like a Yoshitatsu versus Epico match instead of a filler like a dance-off that nobody cares about, and it's the same old ending. They're gonna the face is gonna get all 10s, and then Fandango is going to get shitty scores, and
Yeah, because you had the Kali the other.
and then Fandango
It's fair.
attacks Jericho, so it's the same exact thing. Everyone knows what's going to happen. That's my no of the week.
All right, Jess.
My no of the week is once again the same old dramatic story, romance, whatever you want to call it, between Ryback, Cena, and then the Shield coming out. It's at least 6 of the last 8 Raws have involved those 5 guys. And I would only hope that after Extreme Rules, it's going to change because we'll see who's champion after then. What happens with the Shield if they're involved with that last man standing match, if something happens. But obviously for next week's Raw, the send-off show before Extreme Rules, I'm already accepting that garbage is going to happen one more time.
Yeah.
But this time it's going to be Cena standing on top.
Now,
Julian.
Well, before that, I just have a question for Jesse quick. Now, Jess, do you think that the Shield are going to play a role in the title match at Extreme Rules?
Yes.
How
I don't know.
How so?
Definitely, if they're coming out all these times on Raw and they're interfering with these 2 guys, you say to yourself, what does Shield have to do with these guys like by now already? You can only but think that they're going to come out, and obviously, I think that they're going to make Cena lose. I think that they're going to help Ryback out, and Ryback's going to win.
All right, Julian.
All
What's
right,
your no?
So last week it was the extended Domino's promo, but this week it was Michael Cole's atrocious acting on pointing out
Oh my
the
God!
Big Show
The Big Show
was coming out after the match against Randy Orton. Now, we're all broadcasters here. Obviously, we broadcast things. We know what it takes to be a play-by-play guy, be a color guy. But the big thing that I got to say is if you can't act like Michael Cole, just at least don't half-ass it like he did. That was
Give it to JBL to do.
terrible.
It was absolutely atrocious, and the Domino's thing last week was atrocious.
Too bad.
Oh,
Things
my
from
God.
Michael.
It was just horrible.
Santinello.
My no has got to be Zack Ryder constantly getting no victories on Raw, getting jobber entrance like he got this week. Not even his theme song wasn't even played. I just think like at this point, this guy was U.S. champion. He
was so over too.
Right? He should. I liked when he was over because he was a really good athlete, and he was at one point like on the like how Ziggler was a couple months ago.
He was involved in a main event angle.
Yeah.
It's John Cena.
All right, well, my no is going to be the lack of Cody Rhodes on this week's show. I think we talked about him last week, how he can possibly win Money in the Bank and win all these big matches, but if you're not going to get booked on Raw, you're not going to do any of that. So I think going down the road, you got to have Cody Rhodes on a Monday Night Raw because he's your future that you're looking at. And now...
Well, I just have one thing I want to say. It goes back to what
Luke
Julian
just keeps
said.
getting me off my rhythm for throwing segments. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But no, I mean, you really mentioned about Michael Cole being a bad actor, and I think so I have classics on demand, and I go back and I watch these old Raws where Jim Ross announces these shows, and you see such a difference between Jim Ross. Not only is he a good actor, but he just sells everything that's happening like it's real and legitimate. And I think with Michael Cole, he's just a bad actor to the point where everything feels staged, and then I'm watching. Then I don't know. I just don't feel like it's. I know it's fake, but I want to be. You're supposed to be invested in it, like it's real. And I think Jim Ross was really able to sell it, and I think that's Michael Cole's biggest weakness. And I think that's something that I think to a larger effect really hurts the product a lot.
Agree.
Very cheesy individuals.
All right, we're moving to the next segment, Voice of the Voiceless. While Luke pulls up our own Google Voice box to hear some fans outside of us on the panel talk a little bit about Wrestling World. With the number you can call, it's Royal Roundtable's own number for Google Voice Box. It is 90897 Royal. Again, that's 90897 Royal. Obviously, Royal being some numbers on the phone number keypad. If you were that a little slower as you're listening to the Royal Roundtable, but
You're asleep like Damien.
nonetheless, Voice of the Voice is pretty much a segment where last week we had it We Speak, but since we're kind of getting an early fan base in our second show, we want some fans to hear it. Obviously, we put the link on Reddit. We put it on various forums. We have podcasts. You know where to contact us on this Google Voice box. So Luke said we have 2.
Do you want to do 2? Do you want to do both?
We want to do both of them. Clear, because I'm surprised.
Dude, that's great.
I have not vetted the second question. I have not vetted the second.
It's fine. All right, let's hear the first one.
Okay.
Voice of the Voiceless, message number 1 from our fan. Let's hear it.
Luke Halpert, this is Mike Morelli here. Big fan of your show, big fan of Ravishing Rick and the Anthony tag team. You know, one of the things that I'm upset about with wrestling nowadays, if I could pick something specific, I guess it would be the booking. You know, I think they had a big opportunity going into WrestleMania and even after WrestleMania in booking. Cena turning heel, joining the Shield, you know, anything. But the predictable booking is killing the industry. You have Ryback, who can't cut a promo for his life, going against Cena. Cena's the same boring face. The Shield's doing the same thing. And Big Show was predictable in his turn at WrestleMania. It's the same thing over and over. We need something. Doesn't need to be R. Doesn't need to be PG-13. It could be PG, like it was when I was a kid in the late 80s, early 90s. But it was booked, so it was edgy, and it was gritty, and it shocked you. And it was interesting. It wasn't the same old stuff. That's my complaint for you guys to dabble with.
All right, well, once again, Mike Notarelli, my brother, a guy I credit to getting into wrestling, personal friends with Bret Hart. We're going to have him on the little plug there. We're going to have him on the show next week for an in-studio segment. He's a guy who grew up during the childhood era of the Golden Age, perfect timing for all of them. Child in the Golden Age, teenager in the Attitude Era, and now just looks back and, as you heard him, has a bit of a problem with the booking. So let's talk a little bit about that Voice of the Voiceless segment before we get to number 2. I think we can all agree, unanimous yes, that the booking is atrocious in WWE.
Well, it is atrocious, and I've spoke to Mike myself, and obviously I know that he told me that he doesn't watch wrestling anymore because, like he mentioned before, he's sick of the booking. All the stuff that he doesn't want to happen happens, and nothing is just coming out. Now, I think that, obviously, as of now, WWE, I don't think, like, we want all these guys to get big. Cesaro, Rhodes, and Sandow. Then that's the problem. And I don't think they're going to get big because they're putting the same old stuff of Ryback, Cena, and who knows. Like, I think that the next pay-per-view, they're probably going to have Cena again against someone else or Ryback with the rematch.
All right, well, let's hear this mysterious, because I knew my brother was calling in and going to say something, but I'm curious to see as to who this is. I know we put it on a lot of forum sites, so this could be anybody right now. Let's hear this. 3 minutes long, so pay attention closely. Our second Voice of the Voiceless.
It's Dan Kivers. I got this, so the podcast information on the Wrestling Figs forum. I'm here to be part of the Voice of the Voiceless. You know, I'm calling in. You know, as you could probably hear, I'm 45. I'm an older man. You know, I think that you guys are a little bit younger. I grew up watching wrestling, you know, before the territories turned into one. And if you ask, my biggest problem with wrestling today is not wrestling today. It's guys like you. You know, I respect your opinion, and I think you got good stuff to say, but guys like you, I think Rick Rossetto, who don't appreciate a guy like John Cena. You know, I think if people appreciated John Cena a little bit more, people would see a better product. The guy wrestles 300 days a year, if not more, and that's more than anybody that I watched growing up has done. Hulk Hogan was interesting and entertaining and captivating. Bruno Sammartino, Heartbreak Kid, but these guys had a much lighter schedule. So my problem with wrestling is the fans and being a little mawkish and not appreciating talent and putting their nose in the air, wanting an Attitude Era to return. The Attitude Era was only around for 4 years. So my problem are the mark fans that think they're smarkies, but they're actually just marks. And that's, if you ask me, that's what I have to say. I think what you guys are doing is good, interesting. I'm tuning in. I know other people that will tune in, but when it comes down to it, that's just my opinion.
All right, we're back. This an interesting number 2 Voice of the Voiceless spot. I mean, he was making some points, and while we do hate Cena, you can't disagree. First of all, I just want to thank him for being a fan of the Royal Roundtable and kind of promoting it. He found it on WrestlingFigsForums.com. So obviously the forum love is starting to spread. Obviously it's only our second episode, but it's good to see we have some fans that aren't my brother, that aren't family, that aren't other wrestling fans inside the station. And he made some interesting points about John Cena, maybe comparing him to Hogan, how we don't hate Hogan, why do we hate Cena?
Well, I like what he said because Hogan, you think about it, Hogan's viewed as like, oh, that's like when He's synonymous with the word wrestling, Hulk Hogan. So Cena is in the same light as him, where he's the hero. He does nothing wrong. Hogan did nothing wrong back in his day, except when he went to NWO. But even then, he was still liked among the crowd. So I agree with him. Why can't we see Cena that way? But I think it's different times call for different scenarios, and Cena today isn't viewed the same way as Hogan would be today.
I think if you look at it today, people love a villain. That's what it comes down to. The Shield is awesome because they just come out and they beat the crap out of people, and it's really awesome to see that. That's probably why I think that back in the day, it was Hulk Hogan. You had to deal with stuff that, was like during the Cold War and stuff like that, where everybody wanted a hero. Everybody wanted the real American like Hulk Hogan was. Nowadays, all you want to do is just throw somebody under the bus, and in my opinion, the people that people want to throw under the bus is John Cena because he's one-dimensional.
I think that as time has pretty much evolved, you see that, as Julian said, that during that Cold War time, that people really wanted to root for a hero, and I just think the times just change, and you're just sick of the same old stuff. And not only that, I think his character is just. I just feel like it's written for 6-year-old kids, and especially when you have something that was so hot like wrestling was back in the 90s and most of the 2000s, when you have an Attitude Era where it just pushed the boundaries and everything just was taken to that next level. And I'm not even saying they have to be a villain or a bad guy, but just give the person like a backbone. Don't make him like this. Just this, like, nothing ever phases him, and all he does is crack jokes, and it's just lame, and it's just been the same thing since 2005, 2006. Like, people are just sick of it, and it's not a knock on John Cena, the guy or the wrestler. I just think his character is literally just his character.
All right, so we appreciate both callers today on Voices of Voices. Keep calling in. Again, the number is 908-97-ROYAL. Call in, look for us on all forums, all wrestling. But now we're going to go to our last segment of the day before we wrap up for show number 2, the pipe bomb. Last week, it was a little weak. Santinello agreed with my point on the Shield.
I couldn't disagree with it.
So the first pipe bomb got a little bed going underneath. I like it, Luke. The first pipe bomb is going to be between Anthony Santinello and newcomer Jesse Levy. And the question is simple. I'm going to have you each take a point first. Jesse, you start since you're the newer one. I don't want you to tell me nobody's going to do it. I don't want you to tell me more than one person. I want you to tell me who is going to be the one to prevail over the Shield and end this Shield storyline.
The person to do it, in my mind, I had 3, but if you want to say one that changes everything, I'm going to pull out a little wild card here. And when he does come back, Mr. CM Punk.
Oh, okay.
In some sort of way.
I like your pick. I'm going to go a little different because I think the Shield right now, like we all love them on the show. Everyone basically around the world loves them because of what they're doing. I think it's not going to happen until WrestleMania 30, and I think Undertaker is going to have to be the one to come back and really, because that's going to be what we think is his last match. I know Notarelli thinks it's going to be Undertaker-Cena, and that's the way Undertaker's going to go out, but I really think Undertaker has to go out against the Shield, and that's the way I think he really is going to go out. He's got to go out with a bang.
There is no way, as Vince McMahon says, there's no chance in hell that'll happen, because you're not going to make The Undertaker, who is 21-0, he is not going to end his ridiculous legendary career, and especially a streak, and take a win out on the Shield. Me and Anthony, when we were at Access, we were talking to these guys, and they said that the Shield should versus The Undertaker. And we were absolutely calling these guys idiots. We were ripping these two, as we would call them, smarkies from Buffalo, New York, because they were absolutely fools thinking that. It's not going to be Undertaker, because Undertaker is going to have his own thing against Cena. And as the Shield, like I said, it's going to be later, not sooner. And that's why when Punk comes back eventually, I don't know when he's going to come back, but he'll be leading.
All right, guys. He made his point.
I made one. I got only one shot. I'm going to go. Yeah, I just don't think Punk's going to win it, because I don't think Punk. I know Punk's a great superstar and a great in-ring and on the mic guy, but I just don't think he's going to have the push of a face that needs to really beat the Shield.
All right, so there it is. First pipe bomb, a little bit more intense than the one we saw last week. Luke, I'm going to give this argument to Jesse. I think he pulled up a lot of facts. I think he pulled up a lot of smart statements, including the word smarky, so that's always a pop in wrestling fans' world. So I'm going to give it to Jesse.
Damn. I'm a little conflicted. In all honesty, I'm going to go with Anthony
Yes.
Santinello. So we have a tie. And when we have a
I'm
tie,
still.
that means you have to bring in the third party, which is Mark Silverman, who's in the other room, who we actually...
We already said no.
No, he's coming in right now. He's
He's
He's our intern.
He's listening in mixing. He's kind of our
He's
intern.
coming into the studio is our intern,
Silverman.
Mark Silverman.
I just want you to tell us-
Silverman, come. I get on the mic. Can you ask you a question?
We know you heard that last pipe bomb. So who do you think was the winner of it, Jesse or Anthony Santinello?
This is tough. Man, I like my boy Sant, but I think I'm gonna feel Sant.
Yes!
Oh, and
Our intern,
the
Mark
intern,
Silverman.
Mark Silverman.
Fired!
Picking Santa as the first ever
I
pipe bomb
got paid for any
official
of
winner.
this.
And now we
Unpaid
move.
internship, sorry.
Now go give me a coffee. you
We
intern
settle
bitch.
down the.
Give me a coffee, Silver.
We clear the smoke and move to pipe bomb.
Best intern right
Pipe bomb number 2 between Damian Fiorello and Julian Coltre, both new on the scene of podcasts and Royal Roundtable. So the question I'm going to ask
Hope
you
you're a
guys.
little bit awake for this one, Damien.
The question I'm going to ask you guys is simple. Damian, you're going to start it.
Okay.
Who is going to win at Extreme Rules for the WWE title in the Last Man Standing match? John Cena or Ryback Rules?
Okay. I think John Cena wins the match. No, I'm actually going to change it. Ryback wins this match because he hasn't won in a while. I think it's about time you give Ryback the championship. So at Payback, John Cena can take the title away from Ryback again, starting up, and hopefully the feud ends. But I think give it to Ryback for a month, see how he does with the championship, have a test run with him as the champion, the WWE champion. I think that he does win the Last Man Standing match with some help from the Shield. And there you go, Ryback wins at Extreme Rules.
All right, Damien, let me put it this way. The keyword that you said was he should win, which means he's not going to win because this is the WWE where the writers don't know shit anymore and their booking is horrible and all they want is John Cena to win every single match. He just won the title at WrestleMania. They're not going to just snatch it away from him at the next pay-per-view to Ryback, who can barely read off of cue cards. It's John Cena. He is the face of the company. You're the face of the company. You're John Cena. You should know better than anybody
Stop
else.
the bleeding.
That
Stop the bleeding
it's
early.
going to be John Cena.
Yeah.
Whoa! So you say so your argument is that the WWE creative team
Is going to make
shit
John
the
Cena
bed.
win. Like they
Exactly. So they will
Damien,
and make Ryback championship
No,
champion because he can't cut a promo
Listen to me.
for his life.
When-
so they'll give the championship to someone
They're gonna win because
when in the
who
past,
can't sell
when in the
pay-per-views
past 6
for
months
his life.
has WWE
He needs
done what
Ryback
they're
needs-
supposed to do? I'm saying what they should
All right,
do.
all right,
is
all right,
give
all
Ryback
right.
the
This
title.
one is done.
There was a great. That is what a pipe bomb
That
is.
was
An
beautiful.
explosion.
That's
what I
That's
wanna
gonna be a tough
see.
one.
That woke Damien up for good.
Luke, you start. Who do you think won? Damien is woken up now.
Me more.
This was great. I'm gonna have to give this one to Julian.
Would you stop?
I think it's gonna because I think this was great, but
Julian
not
just almost
not
fell over on the
because
chair again.
it's not because WWE isn't competent, but I really can't see after pretty much what was a 3-year-long build for John Cena winning this title that they're gonna drop it after 1 month.
Yeah.
Agreed, and I'm gonna go Julian as well. Sorry, Damien. You might have screamed louder, but I think Julian made the better points.
But you were very good. I
You-
like
that was
this
a great
one. This
pipe
was a
bomb.
great pipe bomb.
Yeah, look.
This is what you're gonna
Because
get
I
every
won.
week.
Can I pedigree you right now?
You better agree, Damien, because you beat him.
I'm just happy that you had to have another tie and
Ryback
have the
wins
intern
the
come in.
championship. You all owe me.
All right, fair enough.
We'll get you that
At
McKee's
least
girl,
5
man.
minutes.
You'll
All
get
right.
you that.
So, guys,
Ryback wins to
before-
get you that McKee's girl.
Before we wrap up, a great show, a lot of new panelists on the show. We look forward to show number 3, but what are your final thoughts? Anyone have final thoughts?
I mean, I just really hope this Cena Ryback feud has more to offer. I mean, like, I hope it ends as soon as possible because it's boring right now. But if it does keep going, I hope there's some more flavor added to it.
I hope that I have to agree with Sam. My final thoughts is if they're going to keep putting Shield, who right now, me, Luke, and Ant, that's our favorite thing about WWE right now, other than Fandango for me, is They need to do more than just Shield coming in at the end of every show and either beating the crap out of Ryback or beating the crap out of Cena. I want to see a little bit more dimension. Hopefully they do what Damian was talking about and get Ambrose in with that U.S. title. I'd love to see that. But Shield, really great thing. I love it. Just WWE, don't screw it up.
I just can't wait to see what the WWE does with this Caitlyn hat angle. I think it's one of the greatest angles in WWE history. So if they could further push that, I think it would be great.
How are you going to follow that?
Like everyone said with the Shield, obviously I would love to see, who doesn't want to see the Shield walk down but have some freaking gold around their waist? Come on. Everyone wants to see that shit. But anyways, I hope that after Extreme Rules, they start booking the Shield in a better way, and lastly, Ryback doesn't rule.
I will have to say, my lasting thing, I'm very glad that it looks like Antonio Cesaro is back on track.
All right, I'm going to say a big thank you to both callers today that called in for the Voice of the Voiceless, and I'm all going to end it with this is a kick-ass show. Love doing these. Tune in to us next week, and as you know, that will do it for us here. Taking you around the Royal Roundtable tonight was Anthony Santinello and Luke Halpert, myself, Anthony Otorelli, and some newbies on the show, Damian Fiorello, Julian Coltrane, and Jesse Levy, popping their Roundtable cherries. It was fun to host you guys.
That felt good.
It was fun to host. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Royal Roundtable. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/The Royal Roundtable, iTunes and Podomatic, and of course, be sure to check out Reddit, WrestlingFigsForums.com. Any wrestling forum you can get, we'll try to get on there, and call our Google Voice box for next show, 908-97-ROYAL. Again, that's 908-97-ROYAL. Make sure to stay tuned next week as we bring on a special guest for a special in-studio segment. Have a good night, and believe in the Shield.